So welcome to the Hackathon social media, once again, office hours. So today we'll be covering a whole bunch of different topics like why social media is important, ways to utilize social media effectively, and a lot of really cool social media campaigns that I've seen over the past years. And then we'll be going into some Q&A over different questions that have come in through the organizer Slack and through Facebook. If you have any other questions, feel free to send them in. I'm 100% glad to answer any of them when we get to the Q&A section. So I'm Carl. I have been to a whole bunch of different events over the course of the past few seasons. You might have noticed me around helping a bunch of different hackers, helping a bunch of different organizers. If you've been to any events with me, you probably noticed that I invented something called the selfie gift. It's an unholy matrimony between selfies and gifts. So you've probably taken apart one of those if you've been to an event with me. Actually, you definitely have because I do them at every single one. About me, I organized Brick Hack at RIT. I studied game design and development there. I graduated this past May. When I started working at Major League Hacking, I was the lead for local hack day this past year. And now I do a lot of our social media. So if you've seen like any of our tweets or Facebook posts, that was actually all me behind the scenes. So you may be asking yourself, why is social media important? I use it every single day. That is exactly why it is important, actually, because you do use it every day. And probably everybody that you know uses it. If you just take a look at this chart, over the past, this is actually from 2016, over 1.5 billion people use Facebook, over 400 million people use Instagram, 300 million use Twitter, and about 200 million use Snapchat. You probably know, like, all of your friends in college probably have a Facebook account or Instagram account or Twitter or something. They're very active on social media. So a lot of hackers that attend, your collegiate hackathons are in college or in high school, and they utilize a lot of social media. That's one of the best ways to engage with these audiences that are going to your events or hacking and making really cool projects. So the main goals that we're trying to do are have you using social media properly and effectively. I've seen a lot of missteps on different social media accounts that I figured would be a good opportunity to point out because, I want you all to be able to represent your hackathons really well and, to be able to reach your audience in a really engaging way. And then we're going to be, I'll be helping you create engaging campaigns to pull in your audience, which we'll look into in a little bit. So we'll go into using social media itself. Social media has a ton of different platforms that you can go on. As MLH, the main ones that we use are Facebook and Twitter. On Facebook alone, we have around 14,000 likes. On Twitter, we have about 12 or 13,000 followers. It's a really good opportunity to be able to interface with students whenever we're not at events. So we'll be making like different Facebook posts or tweets about different articles that I found online about events or different organizer content that have been posted by different organizers of events. But the main thing that you want to hit is that you want to be able to reach audiences where they'll be listening to not only you as an organization, but you yourself. So I myself have around 1,400 Facebook friends, and a ton of them are organizers and different hackers. So it's a really unique opportunity that I can utilize Facebook whenever I make a Facebook post to share something that will probably be seen by one of my different organizer friends. So it's something to keep in mind. There are a whole bunch of different platforms that you can utilize: Snapchat, Instagram. If you have a really big Tumblr account or G Plus account, good places to engage with people. The key that you want to hit here is where are you going to have the most influence, not only as you yourself, but among your friends who are also high influencers. If you have like a really big Medium following, feel free to also open up a Medium blog with your hackathon. So that way, you can also use it to branch out from your own account. So it's super useful that way. So the main thing here is you want to speak where your audience listens. You don't want to walk into a room with a megaphone that's absolutely empty. You want to have like a packed stadium with a megaphone so that somebody's going to hear you somewhere because you're just yelling at the top of your lungs. The next thing that I've seen among different accounts is a lack of brand association. So what I mean by this is when you go to the MLH Facebook account, the Twitter account, they both look the same. We use the same pictures. We use the same cover photos. The logo is exactly the same as it is on the website. That way, whenever somebody goes to our Facebook page or our Twitter account, they'll know that they're in the same exact place. It's a common misstep that I've seen among events where they'll update their website with a new logo, but then they'll never change their Facebook photo. Sometimes their Twitter won't even have an actual picture. So it's a good way to keep it fresh in people's minds that whenever they go to one of these accounts, they're seeing the same thing. Accounts that do this really well, MHacks, they have their Snapchat on here, their Instagram, and their Facebook. Really great things to do. It makes it super easy for people to follow you. So like if I go to the MHacks Twitter, I can just go follow them on Snapchat, or I can go check out their Facebook page. So really useful ways to be able to interface with a lot of these different events. Another thing that I've commonly seen that some events do, not all of them, is that the Facebook button on their website will actually link out to like the event organizing, or the group that's organizing the event. So it's like, maybe it's like your computer science club or something. Definitely don't want to do that. People are probably going to remember your event more than they're going to remember the overwhelming body behind the event itself. So you want to keep people coming back for your event. If they don't go to your school, they don't really have any association to your local computer club. So it doesn't really make any sense to have them associate that with your event. Another event that does it really well, that I personally really love what they did, was Hack Tech, they use the same logo everywhere, so it's really easy to find. But if you go to their actual website, what you can see is their different social media icons on the bottom. They have their Twitter, their Facebook, and their LinkedIn as soon as you get to their website. That way it's super easy to figure out where to go and what accounts that they have. They even have a LinkedIn on there. So it makes it really easy to be able to find their organization, their event on different social mediums. So make it easy for people to find you. It makes it really confusing, especially for me, if I go to an event and they still have their logo up from last year and it's not even like anywhere near similar style or something. So it's like, I don't even know if this is the same thing that I'm looking at. One thing that I'll fault with the Hack Tech website, in general, everything they do is really cool. They use the same logo everywhere. The one fault that I have is that they use this hashtag get pumped. So I don't know about you, but if I saw hashtag get pumped, I would think of GitHub. Like that's the first thing that I go to. As a developer, I use GitHub. And so if I saw get pumped, I would think like somebody's getting really amped about code that they're writing or something. The thing that you want to do with hashtags is make it really effective in creating easy associations with your event or with your brand or whatever. Just a case in point of why like hashtags are super important. This is a tool that I use called hash tracking that actually allows me to see like how effective a hashtag does over the course of a weekend. So if you look at a lot of these different events, you'll see like MHacks in the top left over there, they reached like 640,000 people. Hack PR, they exploded up to like 1 million people. It makes it really easy to follow the conversations. That is literally what a hashtag is used for, to follow a conversation. And if, say, 1 million people saw like hashtag go crazy, but that was like the hashtag for Hack PR, nobody would really know what the hashtag was for. Anybody could really use it for anything. So it's really helpful to be able to make your hashtags short, simple, and relevant to whatever you're doing. To go on to having hashtags and using them everywhere, engagement is a really important thing. It's a very common problem that people have whenever they make a Facebook post. Imagine you make a Facebook post and you only get like 2 likes on it, but you thought it was really cool. You wonder why that happens. And there's a lot of different ways that you can go about making your content way more engaging for people. So one of the common things that I've seen over the course of the past couple of months is that videos are actually some of the most engaging content there is. Whenever we post a video, they'll always get like at least like 500 to 1,000 views. But on top of that, a lot of people will like them, a lot of people will share them, comment on them. It gives a really cool opportunity for people to be able to see actual representations of your organization. And it also gives an actual voice, so you can actually say something about your event. The second best thing that you can do is have a photo. So photos are really engaging when used effectively. That's a very clear marker. If say you're making a hype up post or something, right? And you put a picture of people sleeping, it sends like a contradictory message. What you want to do is like, it's like, oh, are you ready for like hashtag Moonhacks 2016? you want to be able to put up like a really exciting photo of like people like dancing or something or going crazy at a hackathon. That way, it keeps that mental image associated with the words on the page. And then last but not least, least engaging by far is just having text. It doesn't do a really great job of pulling people in. If you're going to have text, at least have some kind of call to action behind it of like registering for your event or something, because otherwise, it's just like some kind of bland thing that people read, like unless it's a philosophical statement, people really probably won't even get engaged with it. And then other ways to utilize all of these things really well, compound them. So like having text with an image to have like a caption, using text as a description or putting text in a video. So that way it really pops out. So engaging content goes a really long way. And there are a bunch of different ways that people will engage with your content. So, everybody knows of liking on Twitter and Facebook. Liking actually is a twofold action. So liking not only helps people engage with your event, but imagine something like the Reddit or Imgur front page, right? So if a ton of people upvote that content, it gets seen on the front page. Same thing applies to like your Facebook feed. If 6 of your friends like the same exact post, then it's probably going to get bumped up onto your newsfeed, and it'll make it a lot easier for people to see that content. Other things that you can do, sharing other people's content. It's a nice way to pay it forward. It's a step up from liking something, but you have to really make that content really shareable. So on the left side, you can see like I shared something from Hack Poly a few weeks ago that I thought was really cool. They put in a lot of effort to make this really cool graphic, and I thought that was awesome. So I thought it was worth a share. By sharing something, it allows not only their audience to see it, but it also allows your audience to see it. So like Major League Hacking has the benefit of having 14,000 people following it on Facebook. So that way it gives it a chance to be seen by way more people. Same thing goes for if you look at the Q-Hacks announcements that we made a few weeks ago. Alone, whenever we do event announcements, they reach around like 300 people. This one did really, really well just because like 10 people liked the post. One of the organizers shared it. So it gave it a really good opportunity to get like 1,000 more reach than it normally would. So it's really important to be able to pay it forward, liking and sharing content so that it has an opportunity to be seen by more people than just your audience. Going on to that, tagging people is a really useful way to guarantee that people like and share your content. If you look at like the left side for the season announcement, we announced 10 different hackathons, and I tagged them all in the post that we made. It was a super effective way of having people know that they were tagged in it, so then they were more likely to share it and more likely to like it. Same thing goes with like every weekend I do the same thing with a whole bunch of different event posts. So I will tag them so that they know that they were tagged in it, and then it gives the people a chance to like it and share it to their groups as well. So if you tag other people, chances are they will see it, and they're probably going to share it, and they're going to like it, and they're going to have other people engage with it too. Some tips and tricks that I've found throughout my time of browsing social media. Really useful things that you can do to keep your content really active is scheduling. A lot of people probably know that you can schedule posts on like your Facebook pages. Many people probably don't know that you can actually schedule things on Twitter, which is super, super useful. So by scheduling posts all the time, it makes it your account way more active so that people have more of an opportunity to be able to look at your content. Say you're going on like a hiatus for a day or two, like you just have a ton of classwork or something, or you have a major project and you're doing the social media for your hackathon, you can just queue something up for those next 2 days so that, even though you can't actually post something, you have posted something at that point, which is super, super useful. So schedule your content and make sure to stay active. Another really useful thing that you can utilize, using analytics. Twitter and Facebook have really, really good analytics that you can follow along. The best thing that I think about Twitter and Facebook is that it'll show when your audience is really engaging with a lot of your content and when they're commonly online. So on Facebook, it has this really nice graph that you can see of like when people are actually looking at your content, like how much reach you'll probably get at any given time. So it gives you a good idea of when you should post something to give it the maximum potential of being seen by everybody. So Analytics are basically your friend. You should try and use them as much as you can to see what content is really effective with people and when you should be posting your content. So up next are a bunch of different social media campaigns that I found throughout the years and the months that have been super effective. One that was recently come up was the big ol' MHAX mystery. I don't know if anybody actually saw this tweet that was made by MHAX in December. It was kind of confusing when I first saw it. I didn't really know what I was reading at first. On a second run through, you could probably glean that it's MHAX, obviously. They're probably going to be doing it on February 19th. So stay tuned for 12/18. That's probably when they're going to post something else. But a lot of these words and these numbers don't necessarily mean anything to anybody. As an organizer, you could probably glean like 50-50 is probably the male to female ratio. 500 to 700 is going to be their audience size, and 4:1 is going to be their like mentor ratio or something. But you never really get that. And then there's just these three words that don't really have any connections to them. But on 12/18, heaven for lo and behold, they actually showed something that helped glean a little bit more into what they were trying to say. So with MX Refactor, the three big things that they were trying to achieve were diversity, hacker empowerment, and personal development. So by having the 50-50 male to female ratio, they were really trying to emphasize having huge diversity, and they really wanted their event to have a whole bunch of different people at the event. Hacker empowerment, they really emphasized on having a more community aspect than they have in the past. So the past MX have always been like 1,000 or so people. And in this one, they're trying to scale down to like 500 to 700 people so that it's a lot more of a community feel. Everybody feels like they're more one with everybody that they're working with. It's a lot less intimidating because there's not so many people all over the place. And then personal development of having mentors, the 4:1 student to mentor ratio, so that mentors can always be around and help the students with whatever they need. So one of the things that I really liked about this campaign was that they talk about why they did something, what the different values that they thought made them unique by having a really diverse event, by focusing a lot on the community, and by really making sure that hackers had the mentorship that they needed to make sure that they were having an awesome time. Another one that was really popular back in the day, this is probably, I think this was last year at this point, was 30 Days of BitCamp. So BitCamp did this really, really cool campaign where basically for 30 days before their event, they had like a lot of super cool announcements about all the different things that they were going to have at BitCamp. And they called it hashtag 30 Days of Camp. And they tweeted it and they Facebooked everywhere. But it all really started with this, innocuous Facebook post. It was like, reach of the 30 days leading up to BitCamp will be making wild announcements. What do these wild announcements mean? Nobody really knows. But all of a sudden, hashtag 30 Days of Camp started, which led into a lot of really cool posts that they made over the next few days. They had the color war, which is really popular, where you basically got to decide the color of the shirts that you wanted at the event. For day 22, they got Oculus VR, and they made that announcement as part of their 30 Days of Camp. And that was back when like VR was not anywhere near as widespread as it is nowadays. Back then, it was like you were lucky if you had like one Oculus at an event, and now we have like 12. So that was a really cool thing that they showed. And then, for day 30, they had s'mores, and I thought that was just kind of cool. I like the graphics that they do all the time. They have some really great designers over there. But it was a really great way of generating FOMO. That's something that a lot of events should strive to do is, you want people that aren't going to your hackathon to want to go to your hackathon. So by creating really cool campaigns like 30 Days of Camp, it'll make it really fresh in people's minds, and then more people will want to go to your event. So looking into it, there are a lot of different ways to craft your own campaign. I've kind of boiled it down a lot. There are a lot of different ways you can really do it, do what works for you and do what works best, but there are a whole bunch of different things that you can do to make it really effective. So the first step is to be super visible. So, how I mentioned about having really good brand association and being very visible among your different audiences. The thing that I loved about Technica this past year was that they made this really cool filter for your profile pictures. So basically, whenever I saw this blue to pink filter, I immediately realized that it was for Technica. And I thought that was super awesome. It pretty much made like anybody that didn't know about Technica because of this awesome filter that they had going. Having a hashtag is super important. I am huge recommender of having your hashtag literally everywhere. So you should have it on like your Facebook page, on your Twitter posts, on your website, so that it's super visible and super easy for people to follow and use. One of the events this past weekend, Winter Wonder Hack actually did an extremely great job of this, where for basically like a whole like month straight, like every single post that they did, or like every hour, had hashtag WW Hack. So then that way you know that they were talking about Winter Wonder Hack. The next step that I have is to be active on your accounts. So I actually talked to the Hack Poly crew back in January, and they wanted different ways to be able to reach their audiences. And so they basically got super, super aggressive with making a whole bunch of different posts. And they actually reached 30,000 people over the course of a week, which is really cool. Like, I typically don't get that many reach unless it's like I'm posting photos. So they alone got 30,000 reach just by being super, super active, posting like every single hour. They also utilized like paid ads, which can be super helpful if you're trying to get like really big reach. But it's all about bang for your buck, right? Like, if you don't think the ads are going to do that well, or they're not going to attain the goal that you're going to get, then you don't have to use ads. I mean, you can do just the same by being super active and, you know, posting to a lot of different groups and posting very commonly. The next thing is being unique, you know, highlighting what makes your event really awesome. So Tree Hacks did this where if you look at their Facebook page, you can actually see a whole bunch of different Medium posts. That's how you know that they're like super, super into being diverse. So by being able to share all of this different content, by actually making content that makes your event unique, it makes it really cool and makes it really engaging for other people. And then last but not least, you know, making FOMO. We all know that MLH is coming this week, but they actually did this really cool thing that I decided to pull, where they, for the past week or so, they were posting a whole bunch of different content, like what makes their event unique, the different things that like the organizers of MLH themselves loved about past MLH, which I thought was really cool. And it was really a unique way of, you know, creating that FOMO, of making people want to go to MLH, even though everybody wants to go to MLH anyways. So that's basically the extent of my office hours. It's pretty 101 version, a lot of basics. I plan on in the future, you know, expanding on a lot of different things and, you know, utilizing some of the questions that you guys ask. But for now, we'll go into the Q&A section of the office hours. So.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much, Carl, for that presentation. It was fantastic. We do have a ton of questions that we will go through and give you an opportunity to answer. Before I do get into the questions, though, I wanted to plug one thing really quick. If you are enjoying MLH office hours, you probably will also really, really enjoy HackCon. If you haven't heard of HackCon before, it is our annual conference for hackathon organizers. It's coming up this June 24th to 26th in Estes Park, Colorado. You can join over 400 of the organizers from the community to learn about best practices for organizing hackathons, everything from social media to sponsorship to actual day of event logistics. You can also work to discuss the future of hackathons and where the movement is going. So definitely check out HackCon. It's hackcon.io. So time for our Q&A. I've got a bunch of the questions here. If you have other questions, feel free to ask them on Facebook or ask them in the Google Hangouts question and answer app. I will do my best to pull some of them from both of those sources while we're going through. So the first question, Carl, is how many people do you need to handle the social media for a hackathon?
Yeah, that's a really good question. A lot of people, you know, do social media as an afterthought. The main thing is, you know, just you can have like 1 or 2 people really intense on the social media the day of. If that's going to be their only job, then it's like super easy. You know, it depends on if they have other priorities. If they're just going to be doing social media the entire time, like you don't need more than 1 person, because, you know, when they're going to sleep, nothing's probably happening anyways. Pre-event, you know, you probably want to have a couple of more people just to create like diversity and make it more interesting. You know, 1 person can only come up with so much original things, and they're probably at that point working on other parts of the hackathon too. So, you know, having a couple other people also have control of the handles beforehand is really useful.
Awesome. Our next question comes from Julian. He asks, how do you improve post interaction when you have many page likes but nearly no post or comment likes?
That's also a good question. Hopefully I answered it during the office hours, but just to reiterate on some of the things that I went over, it's a common problem where you have a ton of likes and a ton of followers on your accounts, but a lot of people won't be engaging with your Facebook posts or your Twitter posts. So the thing that I found is actually that like commonly on Twitter, there's always going to be like a 1 to 1.5% engagement rate, just because there's so many people that can see your tweets. So that, like, that's not something that you can overall control. With Facebook, the thing that you can do to really engage with your audience and like make like super interesting posts is by having engaging content. So, making those videos, putting in the effort, making graphics, or making really cool posts that have like really good call to actions in them makes it super easy for people to engage on those posts.
Awesome. Our next question comes from Richard Murby from over at our friends at DevPost. He asks, what social networks are the best to reach first-time hackers?
So for a lot of first-time hackers, going back to that chart that I put up before, Facebook is by far like the biggest social media platform out of any of them. I think collectively it just destroys every single one of them. And a lot of young kids nowadays are using social media like Twitter and Facebook and Snapchat. The best way to create like long-term engagement with users is Facebook, because it gives them a page that they can go look at, and they're probably using Facebook once or twice a day. So it's a good opportunity to be able to go on there and they might see something that you posted. Twitter is really, really useful for that short-term engagement. It's more useful for actual events themselves, because people might be checking their Twitter commonly during events, especially if you tell them that's where all the announcements are. But otherwise, I know myself, I only check Twitter once a day, and there's so many things that go through it. So
awesome. Our next question is, if we want more attendees or want to reach out to students who aren't from our school or university, do you suggest using Facebook or Twitter ads for that?
So Facebook and Twitter ads are really interesting. You don't actually need to use Facebook or Twitter ads to be able to reach a specific set of students. If you want the cheapest way and probably the most effective way to reach out to other schools that you don't know, start messaging, different computer clubs that they have. There are different hacker organizations. Definitely you get way more bang for your buck, because you create an actual relationship with those people, and then that way it creates stronger bonds with those schools themselves. But if you want to, using Facebook and Twitter ads is an option. You can actually target Facebook posts without having to pay for an ad, which is super useful. So basically you can trim down to, like, say somebody goes to Loon University or something. You can on Facebook make it so that that post you make only goes to Loon University, so that more people see it. Basically, by paying for Facebook and Twitter ads, it just gives it a wider reach than it potentially might have, so that it pretty much guarantees that people will see it on their feed.
Awesome. Our next question comes from Eric. Eric asked, what is the best social network to reach more people with the same interests?
So if you mean by same interests, like they're only interested in like computing or something, or programming, I mean, by far the best place for that is Reddit, because on Reddit, everything is divided by subreddits. So you can just go into that subreddit and go talk to people. If what you mean by same interest is like you want to be able to target different people across like different demographics or something, Facebook, again, has that really useful targeting platform where you can basically trim down to, like, you want people from 18 to 24 from this school that's interested in computers and engineering and software engineering. So in that way, it gives it a good opportunity to be seen by those people.
This next question comes from Adam. Adam asks, how can hackathons make the best use of social media in their off season? What can organizers do to ensure people stay interested and excited for their hackathon, even when it's 6 months away?
So this is a problem that I actually see pretty commonly across probably 99% of different events that I see on Facebook and on Twitter, is that, after the event is over, like on Twitter, you can actually see date stamps. So like they won't have posted something for like 365 days pretty much until like the next time the hackathon starts. Really useful things that you can do, just try following different like tech outlets or tech news outlets like TechCrunch, The Verge, or Wired or something. That's like really low-hanging fruit, where you can just pretty much just go look at their tweets or go look at their Facebook page and just share something out. That way, you can actually share things that are relevant to what the people are interested in. Bitcamp does a super, super good job of engaging people during the off season, where if you actually look at their Facebook page, you'll see like during major holidays, they've made their own custom graphics that they post during those holidays, which I think is a really cool way of engaging with people because, you know, it keeps Camp fresh in everybody's minds and, you know, it reminds people of like the awesome graphics that they design every single time.
Awesome. This one comes from Arpan. Some students that I know don't have Facebook or Twitter, but they have a LinkedIn account. Is it a good idea to have a LinkedIn Hackathon account?
So LinkedIn is a very strange platform. I mean, LinkedIn is probably on the lower tier of places that have big audiences. It's much more for professionals than it is for students. It's a really good opportunity for like recruiters to find other people. So it really is based on like how much you want to invest making a LinkedIn for your hackathon, because you're probably not going to get that many people following it. And unless your hackathon has like really like special recruiting purposes or something, then it's probably not going to engage that well with people overall. I know myself, I don't actually check my LinkedIn every day, sometimes not even for weeks. So you could probably assume that other people don't, unless they're actively like looking for a job or something. So it's probably best to just avoid it overall.
All right, this last one comes from me. I asked, how can I use Snapchat to engage with hackers at an event?
So there are a whole bunch of different ways that, you know, events have used Snapchat really well. The really simple, easy one to do is just to make a geo filter. You know, that makes it a really cool way for people to say that, you know, they're at this event and then they can show it to their friends whenever it's on their story or something. A bunch of other hackathons have started making their own Snapchat accounts, which I think is really cool. It provides like a really unique opportunity for people to basically live snap. So like if good examples like, you know, DJ Khaled or something, right? He snaps like every 10 minutes, all day, every day. And it presents like a really cool insight into his life. So you can present like the really cool things that you want hackers to see at that hackathon through that Snapchat.
Awesome. We got a couple of other questions in the Google Hangouts question and answer app, so I'll ask those before we move on to the end here. One hacker asks, how much should brand change between events?
So I'm more of a fan of keeping brands minorly changed. So I would like to see like pretty similar designs throughout different events. So like maybe you keep, a good example of this is like I was just at HackBU this past weekend, and they have this really cool bear cat that's like all like geometrized and like has all these really cool designs on it. But overall, they don't change the design every year. They just change the color. It makes it really easy for people to associate like what that event is and like what it looks like versus like, say one year you have like, I don't know, a cat as your like logo, and then you have a dog. It's like, I don't even know if this is actually the same event anymore because they're not even the same things. So by trying to keep the logo as similar as you can is super useful to making your event really representable.
Awesome. And our last question, this one comes from Daniel. Daniel asks, you mentioned targeting your campaign in areas where people are already listening. How do you deal with expanding the audience into different areas though?
So it's interesting. So in different areas, so like if you're looking into something like, say you're going like cross-platform, right? So say you're going from, you want to increase your Instagram following or something. So doing something like having your accounts cross-promoted onto like where your big following is super useful because like granted, say you have a really big Facebook following, if people see that you also have an Instagram account or they see that you have a Twitter account, then they'll be able to very easily find those different accounts. But say you want to, different areas. Say you want to go into like a whole different sphere of influence, like, but still on Facebook. I mean, using that targeting is really useful because like that way you can orient like directing it specifically for women or something that they might or may not see based on like the Facebook post that you make. But by like having that Facebook targeting, it makes it super useful for them to actually see what you're talking about.
Awesome. Well, Thanks, Carl. We really appreciate you stopping in for MLH office hours. For those of you who want more office hours, in 2 weeks on March 4th, Nico from Hack Texas is going to do an intro to getting started with MyMLH. If you don't know MyMLH, it is our one-click hackathon registration API. Hopefully he's going to do some live coding for that. It should be super fun. Once again, if you enjoyed office hours and you feel like you got a lot out of it, I promise you get a lot out of going to HackCon, our annual conference for hackathon organizers. There's lots of topics just like this one and tons of other discussions and activities so you can get to know the hackathon organizing community and talk about the future of hackathons. And with that, thank you so much, everybody, for stopping in for MLH office hours. We hope you got a lot out of this, and we look forward to seeing you in 2 weeks. Bye-bye, everybody. Great.